For Comedy Hype News, I'm Tatiana LaJoy. When comedy is able to make you laugh while making you think about what we experience socially, politically, culturally, or psychologically, it's the best of both worlds. This is what separates the good comedians, shows, and movies from the great ones. MadTV didn't just make you laugh outrageously, but also did a great job on commenting on the world around us. What made MadTV many people's favorite sketch comedy show is how the show skewers pop culture and offers parodies of the latest TV shows, movies, and big social media and pop culture moments, while relating it to our everyday lives. MadTV was able to create so many iconic characters because of their diversity, such as Miss Swan and Stewart. Who could forget Aries Spears and Deborah Wilson's chemistry as Bobby and Whitney? There is Bunifa, Latifah, Khalifa, Sharifa Jackson, the blind kung fu master, and of course, a fan favorite, Darrell from Can I Have Your Number? Here's why MadTV's Can I Get Your Number is genius. Can I Have Your Number is about an overly anxious man named Darrell who goes to the movies and tries to get a woman named Yvonne's number in the theater before the movie starts. He begins by aggressively slurping a beverage from his cup, which becomes a constant gesture throughout the scene, creating a double entendre of his excessive thirst towards women. The fact that Darrell is played by a female actress named Nicole Randall Johnson not only means that she deserves several Oscars for her performance, but also sheds light on the female perspective when being hit on by men. As Picasso once said, art is a lie that makes us realize the truth. It's safe to assume that Nicole has been on the receiving end of situations similar to this scenario, which is why she was able to give such a relatable performance by infusing truth into a facetious and overzealous suitor. Street harassment is defined as a form of sexual harassment, which consists of unwanted sexual comments, provocative gestures, honking, whistling, indecent exposures. We're looking at you, Louis C.K. Stalking, persistent sexual advances, and touching. Street harassment isn't just related to the streets, but can also take place in shopping malls, public transportation, and any public area. In the sketch, Darrell repeats himself a lot. Not only when he is asking for her number, but almost everything he says is reiterated. This is a clever exaggeration that illustrates the behavior of men that is excused as cultural persistency. Since men are usually the hunters when it comes to pursuing someone in dating situations, it's considered normal for them to not give up when a woman turns them down because she might be playing hard to get. Playing hard to get is an old age gambit for dating. This technique has transformed over the years into dating trends such as breadcrumbing, an act of sending flirtatious text messages to a person with little effort and non-committal intent that eventually leads to the other person being led on. Evolutionary theories have concluded that women tend to play hard to get in order to manage potential partner behaviors. Since most men love the chase, this dynamic makes sense as an entertaining game of cat and mouse. Not to say that it's good or bad, but playing hard to get has helped many women obtain the kind of sexual or romantic relationships that they want. Even so, in unfortunate cases, men may not read the behavior cues properly of the woman they're pursuing and assume she's playing hard to get when she's simply not interested. Although Yvonne rejected Darrell 7 times and was visibly uncomfortable, she was still trying to remain polite, even though he didn't deserve it. This expands into a conversation that begins with asking why women feel the need to be gracious and polite when faced with overly aggressive and disrespectful men. The reason is because there's an unspoken danger that women face when declining a man's advances. For example, actress Jamila Jamil tweeted about her experiences when rejecting men's advances. I once said no thank you to a man when I was 19 and didn't have an excuse, and he punched me in the face. After that, whether or not I have a boyfriend, I say I do. Being a woman is truly constantly scary. It's like existing on thin ice. Women of all ages and ethnicities experience harassment from men and are not protected. A video went viral of a woman walking up to a gas station window to pay for her gas when a circle of men surrounded her as a barricade. The man filming the incident makes comments such as, "We apply pressure around here," to explain the aggressive behavior to the viewers. One man calls the woman a bitch, and when she visibly protests, the cameraman says she acts like she's never been called a bitch before. This video went viral and many people suggested that the woman could have avoided the situation by going to another gas station. Others mentioned her smiling as an indication that she enjoyed the attention. A study conducted by a 19th century neurologist discovered that there are 19 different types of smiles, but only 6 are happiness. Smiling or laughter in this situation is an expression of submission. In this instance, the woman's laughter was used as a tool to admit fear and communicate a desire to avoid conflict. This information supports why Yvonne and Kimberly made the same smiling gestures as this woman, even though it's obvious that the situation isn't funny to them. It's an instinctual defensive mechanism governed by fear that can be easily misinterpreted. In Dua Lipa's song, Boys Will Be Boys, she illustrates the frustration of women perfectly with these lyrics. It's second nature to walk home before the sun goes down and put your keys between your knuckles when there's boys around. Isn't it funny how we laugh it off to hide our fear when there's nothing funny here? Boys will be boys is a popular saying that people use to dismiss the inappropriate behavior of males due to the expectation that they can't control their actions. Animals are notorious for having impulsive behavior, which is why Nicole gave Darrell nuances of animalistic qualities such as sniffing, scratching, and fidgeting. After his multiple failed attempts, Darrell subsides and tells Yvonne he loves her, only to completely forget about her moments later when another woman walks past him. Behavioral scientists recognize these traits from animals when they mate. Their rituals are consistent, aggressive, and oftentimes extravagant. In many species, once the male fails to mate with the female they are pursuing, they'll move on to the next female quickly. Another aspect that can be easily overlooked are the bystanders in the movie theater that didn't say anything to defend Yvonne. Ladies, how many times have you been told to wear less revealing clothes in order to avoid a threatening situation? Men, on the other hand, are rarely held accountable. A wise person once said, if a bisexual or lesbian woman can take control of herself when seeing a woman in a skirt, maybe the skirts aren't the problem. It's a shame how many women have to resort to evasive strategies such as lying about having an alternative male ownership, boyfriend or husband, in order to escape uncomfortable or potentially dangerous situations. Sometimes even rejecting a man by telling him you have a boyfriend can be risky. Some men simply do not like to be told no, even if her boyfriend is present. Recently, a woman and her boyfriend were riding scooters down Northside Drive in Atlanta, Georgia, when a man tried to get the woman's number. Her boyfriend stepped in to ask him to leave them alone, and the situation began to escalate. They went down a side street to get away when the man began shooting at them. One of the bullets hit the woman in her shin, shattering her tibia. She now has a permanent rod in her leg because she rejected another man while on a date with her boyfriend. The message these incidents relay is that women are not afforded the privilege to carry on everyday tasks without fearing the threat of a man harassing her. It's even more intimidating not knowing how to respond to men in these situations. Darrell was featured in part 2 of Can I Have Your Number? This time, the sketch was shot from the first-person perspective of a woman named Kimberly, who was getting food at a fast food restaurant. Soon after getting her food, she's approached by Darrell, who is just as aggressive as he was with Yvonne in part 1. Seeing things from Kimberly's point of view forced the audience to empathize with Kimberly by literally putting us in her shoes and experiencing the aggression firsthand. Shifting the viewer's perspective in part 2 allowed us to experience cognitive shifting to understand the toxicity of the situation in a more personal way. After the laughter subsides and the truth is revealed, empathy is realized as being the inspiration behind the creative process of Can I Have Your Number? Empathy for a woman who is simply trying to enjoy her time by herself in peace. There's a website called stoptheharassment.org created by a woman named Holly Curl, who was so fed up by being constantly harassed that she decided to take matters into her own hands and create a platform that will give women advice and resources on how to deal with unwanted advances from men. She provides advice on what to say in various situations, such as someone standing too close or touching you inappropriately. She even provides cards that you can hand to men instead of verbally addressing them, because she found that that's one of the safest ways to confront men without escalating the situation. The fact that this resource had to be created speaks volumes to the misogynistic problems we face in our society. Nevertheless, it's a great resource that has the potential to not only save women from uncomfortable or life-threatening situations, but also hopefully inspire men to reflect on their behavior. At the very least, it will give a woman time to get away from him while he reads the card. What makes a joke genius is taking everyday or overlooked nuances and behaviors and adapting them through comedy to make the truth more palatable. Can I Have Your Number is the perfect example of infusing comedic timing, physical comedy, and dramatization to bring awareness to a frustrating topic for women around the world. Stay up to date with the latest news and comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel, follow Comedy Hype across all social media, and look out for original content on our new streaming service at comedyhype.com. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Tatiana LaJoy.